We are in chapter 9. 9.1, what we did the past 2 days was we looked at a parabola and we decided how many times does it hit the x-axis, and then those are called the solutions of the quadratic. Today we are doing solutions, but it's a lot easier because our solutions are going to be found by factoring. A factored form would be 2 parentheses. So here's vocab. Okay, the numbers could be whatever. A standard form is it's actually multiplied out. Ax squared plus bx plus c. That's standard form. Zero product property is when after you factor, you set the parentheses equal to 0 and solve for x. We have already done a whole lesson on this. So now let's get into some practice. All right. My example 1. It's already in factored form. I have 2 parentheses. It's equal to 0. I set both parentheses equal to 0. X minus 9 equals 0. 5x plus 2 equals 0. And you already did this one, right? Because I asked you to do it and you had a few minutes, so. All right. And solve for x. The 9, that one's easy. Go ahead and do it on your own. X equals 9. That's one of my solutions. Another one of my solutions, I have to do like subtract 2 and divide by 5. Do you remember this? So to get the x alone, first I have to move the 2 over. So I have 5x equals negative 2. And then I'm going to divide by 5. My 2 solutions are x equals 9 and x equals negative 2/5. That's where the parabola crosses the x-axis. Yeah. I don't want to FOIL, because if I FOIL, then I would get a long trinomial. So you can't FOIL. I have to have them in parentheses to find the solutions. B. Is B in factored form or quadratic form? What's that? Is that factored form or quadratic form? Factored form, because it's got the parentheses. Set the parentheses equal to 0. X plus 2 equals 0. 3x minus 1 equals 0. All right, go ahead. Solve for x on both cases. Did you get x equals -2 for one of them? What'd you get for the other one? What'd you get?
1/3.
Yep, 1/3. You add 1, 3x equals 1. Divide by 3, x equals 1/3. All right, do C on your own. All right. Someone tell me the two answers that you got.
-3.5.
-3. X equals 1/2, x equals -3. Excellent. Is this easy? We've done it before. We did it in probably December. We did it yesterday. So here we go. Moving right along. Now I have to factor by myself. It's in quadratic form. You need to factor on your own. Two numbers that multiply to make 64 and add up to positive 16. What would that be? 8. I only really need to write it one time. This only has one solution, and it's just -8. So the problem only hits at one spot, -8. All right, part B. It's not quite ready yet. Move all terms to the left because I need ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. I don't want it equal -20. This -20 needs to move. It's not quite ready for me to factor it yet. How am I going to move a -20 that's on the right? Add it. Okay, take a break from helping. So I cannot put it with the 9. Why can't I put it with a 9? Because 9 has an x and 20 does not. X squared plus 9x plus 20 equals 0. Now I can factor. What two numbers multiply to make 20 and add up to 9? Yeah, it's not 10 and 2. It's 5 and 4. Set each parentheses equal to 0. I feel like a broken record. I guess I have to do it up here. X plus 5 equals 0. X plus 4 equals 0. Solve for x. Move the constant over. What's wrong with C? Why is C not ready? Why is C not ready? Can you say that louder? It doesn't equal 0. How do I make it so that it equals 0? Move the 2x to the left. I want x squared to always be positive. This is just a binomial. How do I factor a binomial? How do I factor a binomial? Can I do 2 parentheses? Can I do GCF? Can I do difference of squares? What do I do here? How would you factor this? Can I do 2 parentheses? I can only do 2 parentheses when there's a trinomial, or if it's a difference of squares. A difference of squares has a perfect square. 2 is not a perfect square. Do they have a GCF? Does their binomial have a GCF? Is there a number in common? Is there a variable in common? Yes. What's the variable that's in common? X. So I'm going to do GCF. X. So I factor out an X. I'm like dividing out an X. X parentheses. Okay. What's X divided out of X squared? X. The minus sign drops down. What's X divided out of 2X? 2. Same thing. Set both things equal to 0. The X in front is equal to 0. That's like nothing. And then X minus 2 equals 0. Okay. So I want to show you something on Desmos real quick. See how on Desmos this hits twice? It hits at 0 and it hits at positive 2. So in my solutions, I'm going to do the x equals 0 and the x equals positive 2. You have to be able to see GCF if it ever presents itself. Is there a number in common? Is there a variable in common? D is not quite ready. What's wrong with D? It's not equal to 0. So what do I do? Go ahead and take a break. Move the 7. It has to go with the 14. I would not do the 7 with the 15x. Those are not like terms. I would not put the 7 with the 2x squared. Those are not like terms. So now I'm actually doing my factoring, but this has an A. The 2 in front changes things. Obviously, the A is 2x squared. That's going to be 2x times x. And then I taught you to guess and check. 7 and 1 or 1 and 7. Is it 1 times 7 or is it 7 times 1? I don't know. But I can test them out. All right. The top one, outside, inside, would be the 2x times 7, 14, and then the 1 times x, plus 1. Is 14 plus 1 make 15? Yeah. Okay. Let's test the bottom just to make sure. 2 times 1 is 2. 7 times x is 7x. Do 2x and 7x make 15? Does 2 plus 7 make 15? No. So I'm going to erase the bottom option because that didn't end up working. So the 1 for sure and the 7 like that. The signs. I saw the sign. What's the sign? They're both positive. Okay. Minus 1 divided by 2. X equals negative 1/2. Subtract 7. X equals negative 7. Those are my two solutions. All right. So my homework. Oh, just kidding. Sorry, guys. Just kidding. All right. A real world problem. A vault A museum vault has an outer steel wall with a uniform width of x. So x, 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 x. It's kind of hard to see, but it's like okay. So it's x wide on each side. We've done problems like this before. The area of the museum vault ceiling and the outer steel wall is 1664. The area of the museum ceiling and the steel wall is 1664. So the total area, 1664. What is the width of the outer steel wall? Okay. Do you guys realize? Let me draw this from up above. This is 20, this is 40, and these are all x. That's looking at it from up above, right? So I want to know, and this is something we practiced probably a week and a half ago, from here to here, we know that this part's 20, but then I got these two sides added also. What's that? A 20 and what? This much and this much. What's that? X. 20 is right here, and then an X and another X. How do I write that? A 20 plus an X plus an X. What do I write? No, 20 plus X plus X. 2X plus 20. Good job. All right, the whole side. I know that it's 40 plus an X plus an X. So it's 40 on the inside, but then the outer wall. XX. 40 plus X plus X. What's that? 2X plus 40. 2X, this X, and this X, plus this 40. Area is length times width. My length is 2X plus 40. My width is 2X plus 20. Total area, 1664. Length times width equals area. Can you guys silence here? All right. My job, look at the question up above. What is the width? What is X? That little X. So, I actually have to FOIL this and then move the 1664 over. Let me show you. You've never done something like this before. I need to get a trinomial. What's 2X times 2X? 4X squared. Outside, 2X times 20. Inside, 40 times 2X. 80X. Last, 40 times 20. 40 times 20, what? 800 equals 1664. Combine like terms. That would be my 40 and my 80. 40 plus 80. So I combine like terms. So I did length times width, and then I have to get the 1664 over. It's not ready for the factor yet. Subtract 1664 from 800. 800 minus 1664 is 864. Okay. I'm still trying to solve for x. Now here in your brain, you're like, oh, I got to figure out like how to factor this. Well, first, let's make it easy. Are there any GCFs? Is there like Can I fact, do all of these numbers like have a number in common that I could? 4. They do have 4. So I'm going to GCF by 4. And I'm going to get x squared plus 30x minus 216. And I just divided it out for you. Then on your calculator, you would say 120 divided by 4. 864 divided by 4. And now I get to try and factor it. Two things that multiply to make 216 and add up to 0. So this is like you would use your calculator, you'd do guess and check, like 216 divided by what? It makes 30. Since we don't really have our 216s in any memory of multiplication, I will tell you. It's 6 and 36. That's the factored form. All right, set them equal to 0. Well, 0 cannot be how wide the wall is. Remember, I'm trying to find how wide is this x, this little barrier wall around the edges. X equals positive 6, and x equals negative 36. I want to know how wide this little piece is. Can the wall be negative 36 wide? No. You can't have a negative width. Can it be a 6 foot wide? It could be 6. 0, no, it can't be. Oh, it's 0 wide. That means there's no wall. So we cannot have a negative width. So x equals 6 is the width. Like 6 feet. Okay. That was a long one, right? A lot of work. So let's look at what your homework is so that everyone's clear because we're going into a weekend. Save this paper because 9.2b is next week. Here's 9.2a homework. And a lot of them you have to move over, like starting at 11 and 12. You have to move over numbers to get it to equal 0. Your job is all of it. And there's one problem on the back. One problem on the back. All right? You're doing 1 through 12, and then you're doing number 30. Oh, sorry guys, on number 6, it should say equals 0. I apologize. I don't know why it doesn't. All right, go ahead and get started. I'll walk around.